Have you ever wondered why Shanks chose not to use Haki and lose his left arm? Or how he can travel insanely fast without using any devil fruit? Or could he have eaten a devil fruit? Or is Shanks fooling us into thinking he's nice but in reality he's incredibly evil? Rest assured, you'll definitely find your answers to all these Shanks mysteries after watching these incredible One Piece theories about Shanks. So sit back, relax and enjoy the show. Have we been totally caught off guard by Oda? Could it be that Shanks is manipulating Luffy for his own amusement? In Elbaf, Oda uses giants to create the exact same scenario when Shanks first met Luffy. What if Oda is suggesting Shanks does this a lot and he is truly evil? He goes around pretending he lost an arm, and on every island he pretends he loses it, saving a kid who he sees has a huge potential to lead him to the One Piece. The evidence for this was leaked by Toei animation executive who Oda says knows the ending of One Piece in the anime when Shanks is meeting Ace. Surprisingly, he has both arms. Is this a mistake or an extremely important Easter egg from Oda? Did you know that there is a funny but highly likely theory circulating around the One Piece fandom which states Shanks lost his arm not because of Luffy but because of Makino. Luffy was just an excuse. We know by the time Luffy had eaten the Gomu Gomu no Mi, which we now know is 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚢𝚑𝚝 no Mi Moralnika, Shanks was already sparring with Mihawk, the strongest swordsman in the world. As stated by Whitebeard, both of them were not holding back in these fights as they lasted days, and their legendary classes were heard all around the Grand Line. Also, as displayed on Film Red and chapter 1055, Oda revealed to us that Shanks is a monster when it comes to Haki, which is shown by him being able to knock down a Vice Admiral Momonga in Film Red and paralyze Admiral Rukugu with his Conqueror's Haki from miles away. Knowing how experienced Shanks is at using Conqueror's Haki, is safe to assume the same could be said about his observation and armament Haki. So him losing an arm to a mere Sea King whilst trying to save Luffy is definitely not an accident. Shanks was about to get laid by Makino. However, Makino saw an embarrassing tattoo on his left arm, which otherwise would be usually covered under his sleeves. Makino, infuriated with the tattoo, refused to sleep with Shanks unless he removed that tattoo. Due to his desperation, idiot Shanks thought that the fastest solution to do this was to get the Sea King to remove it for him. His last glare and a burst of Conqueror's Haki at the Sea King was to let it know not to tell anyone about the tattoo. Many chapters later, we know Shanks succeeded in sleeping with Makino as she is seen holding a baby. Have you ever wondered why Shanks' sword can turn into fire and why Fujitori's emits strange gravity waves? I mean, the phenomenon of Fujitori's sword could be because of its gravity fruit. But what about Shanks, who hasn't eaten a devil fruit? Many fans speculate Shanks has developed or learned a special technique which allows him to convert his insanely strong Haki into elemental powers such as fire or wind. But there is one theory that makes sense, and it has nothing to do with Haki. You see, devil fruit powers, especially 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚢𝚛, aren't limited to only living creatures, as seen with Fongfried and Lasso. Inanimate objects have also proven to be capable of eating 𝙲𝚘𝚙 devil fruits. So to make up for him not eating a devil fruit, Shanks must have fed his sword a mythical 𝙲𝚘𝚙 devil fruit with fire powers. This explains why he named his sword after a mythical creature called Griffon. Did you know that after the release of chapter 1054, the direction that Oda is going towards suggests that Shanks is actually evil? From the beginning of the story, Shanks was trying to force Luffy to awaken his devil fruit, Gomu Gomu no Mi, which you now know is actually the 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚢𝚛 no Mi Moralnika. When the bandit threw Luffy into the sea and Luffy was about to be eaten by the Sea King, Shanks could have easily knocked out the Sea King with Haki or protected his arm using armament Haki, but it didn't. Shanks deliberately let the Sea King eat his left arm because he believed that Luffy would get some sort of trauma by seeing what had happened, which would be a trigger to awaken his devil fruit. However, that was not the case, since Shanks saw an image of his captain, Goldie Roger and Luffy. He then gambled, put high hopes on Luffy, and made a promise with him that he would return the Straw Hat once he was strong enough. After reading chapter 1054, us fans know that Shanks changed his mind to meet Luffy after seeing his new wanted poster, which is a picture of Luffy's awakened Nika form. We know that after defeating the strongest creature in the One Piece world, Yonko Kaido, Shanks knows that Luffy is strong enough to return the Straw Hat to him and fulfill the promise. But now that Shanks realizes Luffy has awakened his devil fruit, he then goes on to say, I think it's time to join the fight for the One Piece. The fact that Shanks has now changed his mind is as if he now intends to use Luffy to find the One Piece and take the credit himself, which ultimately makes Shanks evil. Have you ever wondered why Oda chose to chop off Shanks' dominant left arm? Because story-wise, even Oda knows the victory Luffy, the main protagonist, gets for defeating his end goal, disabled Shanks, who cannot fight at his 100%, is extremely underwhelming and dissatisfactory. Well, the first reason is Oda did this to make the scene more dramatic, as per his editor's advice. And the second reason is Oda chopping off Shanks' arm doesn't mean he has lost his arm. Let me explain. You see, Oda intentionally made Shanks parallel Kid, red hair, left eye scar, conquerors Haki, and no left arm. We know Kid hasn't lost his arm because he can use his devil fruit to create a metal arm, and similarly, Shanks can mold his insanely strong Haki to replace his missing arm with a Haki arm. Have you ever wondered how only Shanks can nullify his opponent's observation Haki? Most fans don't think much of it, whilst a few speculate Shanks has transcended observation Haki and has awakened a new type of Haki. This broken Haki is what enables him to negate his opponent's observation Haki. Well, this is certainly not true, but there is one particular explanation which completely solves this mystery, and it's game-changing. You see, in Wano, Oda introduced a new concept called Advanced Conquerors, where only a selective few people could combine their armament Haki with their conquerors. So maybe, similarly, Shanks merges his observation Haki with his conquerors to produce a new breed of kingly observation Haki, which can completely overpower and negate any basic observation Haki. Have you ever wondered how non-devil fruit user Shanks got to Marineford so quickly, had no trouble whatsoever beating Kizaru's light speed, and as soon as he saw Luffy's billion berry bounty, he instant transmitted himself into Gorosei's room without anyone noticing? Some crazy fans speculate Shanks' obsession with ninjas forced him to travel to the world of Naruto, where he learned the highly advanced teleportation jutsu. Well, this is certainly not true, but there is one sensible theory which completely solves this mystery, and it's really important. You see, Shanks earned his fame through his mastery of observation Haki, so maybe Shanks has pushed the boundary of future sight to the point where he has obtained the ability to control time itself. This explains his unnatural movements, which to the viewer looks like he's teleporting himself and anything around him. Is Oda trolling us? Could Shanks actually be a devil fruit user? Although the concept of Haki hadn't been introduced in the beginning, from the epic scene where Shanks drives away a Sea King with his incredible willpower, Oda made it clear Shanks is an incredibly powerful character with extreme mastery of Haki. In every single scene Shanks is introduced, the talking topic of both his enemies and allies specifically seems to be centered around just his Haki. Even the legendary Whitebeard himself, who has fought toe-to-toe with the strongest Haki legends, stated Shanks' Haki is unlike anything he has ever seen. This proves Shanks' Haki is indeed extremely abnormal, almost supernatural to be more specific. So could this mean Shanks got his supernatural Haki by eating the Haki no Mi? Devil fruits are born from people's dreams, so the Haki no Mi could very well be real. This raises the question of how Shanks can swim. There is a possibility Shanks coats himself with Haki before diving into the sea, so that his body doesn't directly come into contact with seawater. Have you ever wondered how Shanks instant transmits himself like Goku at the perfect location, in the perfect moment, at the perfect time? The most impactful moments Oda has created with Shanks has been him popping up out of nowhere like a magician to save a certain someone, regardless of where he previously was or who he was dealing with. How on earth is Shanks capable of doing this with just Haki alone? Well, there is one particular theory which completely completely solves this mystery, and it's game changing. You see, every time Shanks performs these miracles, his reasoning to hide his true powers is always betting on something and risking it for the future. Could Shanks have a devil fruit power to manipulate fate, but in exchange for that power, instead of losing his ability to swim, he had to risk something of an equal value in return?